You sit down to do something important. Maybe it's studying. Maybe it's working out. Maybe it's finally starting that thing you've been delaying for weeks. And within seconds, your brain says, let's do something easier. Suddenly, checking your phone feels urgent. Watching one video turns into 10. And the hard thing? It starts to feel heavier than it actually is. Here's the strange part. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you lack discipline. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Avoid effort, seek comfort, save energy. But what if I told you you can actually train your brain to crave hard things? Not force, not struggle, crave. Imagine sitting down to work and feeling pulled into it. Imagine finishing difficult tasks and actually wanting more. That sounds unrealistic, but it's not, because the real problem isn't hard work. The real problem is how your brain perceives hard work. Most people think discipline means pushing yourself against resistance, like you're constantly fighting your own mind. But that's why it feels exhausting. You're using willpower as your main strategy. And willpower is like a battery. It runs out. That's why one day you feel motivated and the next day you can't even start. So instead of forcing yourself harder, what if you changed how your brain sees effort? Because your brain doesn't hate hard things. It hates uncertain rewards. Think about it. Scrolling your phone feels easy because the reward is immediate. You get quick dopamine, quick stimulation. But studying, working, exercising, the reward is delayed, and your brain doesn't like waiting. So it labels those tasks as painful, not because they actually are, but because the reward feels far away. Now here's where things get interesting. If you can bring the reward closer, your brain starts to change how it feels about effort. This is the first shift. Stop focusing only on the final result. Start rewarding the action itself. Instead of saying, I'll feel good when I finish this, you train your brain to feel good while doing it. At first, this feels fake, but your brain learns through repetition, not logic. For example, you finish even 10 minutes of focused work. You acknowledge it, you feel it. That small moment of satisfaction, that's what rewires your brain, because now effort equals reward. And once that connection starts building, everything changes. But there's another reason hard things feel so difficult. Your brain doesn't see the task, it sees the size of the task. If something feels big, your mind instantly resists it. That's why saying, I'm going to study for 3 hours almost guarantees you won't start. It feels heavy before you even begin, so your brain avoids it. But if you say, I'll just do 5 minutes, something different happens. There's no pressure, no mental weight. And once you start, you usually keep going. This is because your brain resists starting, not doing. Starting is the hardest part. So the trick is simple. Make starting so easy your brain doesn't fight it. Remove the friction, because once you're in motion, your brain shifts from resistance to momentum, and momentum is powerful. Now, let's go deeper. There's a hidden pattern most people don't notice. Every time you avoid a hard task, your brain learns something. It learns that avoidance equals relief. You feel better the moment you escape the task, and that relief becomes addictive. So the next time you face something difficult, your brain pushes you to avoid it again, not because it's bad for you, but because it worked before. This is how procrastination becomes a habit, not because you're lazy, but because your brain is trained that way. Now flip that pattern. Instead of rewarding avoidance, you reward effort, even small effort. You sit down and start, that's a win. You focus for a few minutes, that's a win. You don't wait for perfection, you reward progress, because whatever you reward grows. Now here's something even more powerful, your identity. Most people say, I'm not disciplined, I'm not consistent, and your brain listens because your mind always tries to stay consistent with how you see yourself. If you believe you're someone who avoids hard things, you'll keep doing it. Not consciously, automatically. So instead of focusing only on actions, shift your identity. Start seeing yourself as someone who does hard things. Not perfectly, but consistently, even if it's small. Because every small action becomes proof, and your brain collects that proof. Over time, your identity changes, and once that happens, discipline becomes natural. Now let's talk about something subtle. The feeling you get before doing something hard. That discomfort. Most people interpret it as a sign to stop, but it's not. It's just your brain stepping out of its comfort zone. That discomfort is not danger, it's growth. But because it feels unfamiliar, your brain labels it as something to avoid. This is where most people quit. But if you can sit with that feeling without reacting to it, something surprising happens. It fades. And on the other side of that discomfort, there's clarity, focus, momentum. This is why people who succeed don't feel less discomfort. They just don't run from it. They understand it. Now imagine this. Every time you feel resistance, instead of stopping, you recognize it. You say, this is the moment that matters. Because it is. That small moment of decision is where your brain rewires. You either strengthen avoidance or you strengthen action. And the more you choose action, the easier it becomes. Not instantly, but gradually. Now here's a powerful mental shift. Stop asking, how do I feel about doing this? Start asking, what kind of person do I want to be right now? Because feelings change, but identity stays. When you act based on identity, you stop negotiating with your emotions. You just act. And over time, your emotions follow your actions, not the other way around. Now let's connect everything. Your brain avoids hard things because the reward feels far, the task feels big, avoidance feels good, and your identity reinforces it. But once you change these, you bring reward closer. You make tasks smaller. You reward effort. You shift identity. Your brain starts to adapt. And something interesting happens. Hard things don't feel as heavy anymore. Not because they became easier, but because your brain became stronger. Now, here's the truth most people don't realize. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. If your system depends on motivation, you'll stay inconsistent. But if your system trains your brain, consistency becomes automatic. So instead of trying to feel motivated, build small systems. Start tiny. Repeat daily. Let your brain learn through action. Because repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity reduces resistance. At some point, what once felt hard starts to feel normal, and what feels normal becomes easy to continue. That's the shift. Not forcing yourself to love hard things overnight, but slowly teaching your brain that effort is not the enemy. It's the path. And eventually, you stop chasing easy distractions because they start to feel empty, and you start craving progress because it feels meaningful. That's when everything changes. You're no longer relying on discipline alone. You've trained your brain. And once your brain is on your side, you don't need to force anything anymore. Because now, doing hard things feels natural. Not easy, but right. And that's the moment most people never reach. Not because it's impossible, but because they keep fighting their mind instead of learning how to use it.